By the middle of the Third Age, Gondor's military dominance was undisputed. This strength was anchored by an unrivaled naval fleet, operating out of the massive coastal shipyards of Pelagar. Command of this armada belonged to Castamir, the brilliant lord of ships. But Castamir was driven by a specific obsession. He believed the strength of the entire kingdom relied on maintaining a strictly pure line of ancient Númenórean blood. This ideology collided with the royal succession. The new king, Eldikar, was born to a Northman mother. To the conservative Old Guard, this mixed heritage made him an illegitimate heir. Castamir leveraged his massive popularity among the coastal elites to weaponize this xenophobia. He turned their political prejudice into a mobilized military force, aiming the full might of the Gondorian navy directly at its own king. What began as political unrest erupted into the Kinstrife, a brutal civil war ignited when Castamir ordered the southern provinces into open rebellion. Commanding the fleet, Castamir sailed his warships up the Anduin River. He laid a punishing siege to Gondor's inland capital of Osgiliath, trapping the royal forces in a complete chokehold. His troops set the city ablaze. The legendary Dome of Stars was destroyed in the fires, and its priceless palantir sank into the dark waters of the river. After breaching the defenses, Castamir captured Eldikar's son Ornendil and executed the young heir in cold blood. With his capital in ruins and his son dead, King Eldikar abandoned the throne and fled north into exile in the lands of Rovanion. Castamir spoke of Gondor's restoration, but a capital in cinders and a royal line severed by execution suggested that his crusade for purity was indistinguishable from total destruction. For 10 years, Castamir occupied the throne, ruling with an iron fist. He ignored the ruined inland capital, preferring to project his power entirely from his heavily militarized coastal stronghold at Pelargir. This chart shows the kingdom's resulting economic shift. Castamir redirected Gondor's wealth and military resources to his favored coastal elites, leaving the inland provinces politically starved and economically neglected. To enforce his vision of society, he enacted cruel decrees, targeting and purging citizens who possessed the mixed blood he despised. By hoarding resources along the sea and ruling through fear, Castamir effectively severed the coast from the interior. He had consolidated his power, but in doing so, he left the most populous regions of Gondor with nothing left to lose. In the year 1447, King Eldikar marched out of his 10-year exile, leading a massive army of Northmen. Seeing their chance, the neglected citizens of the inland provinces of Honorian and Ithilien instantly rose up, joining Eldikar's ranks as they marched against the usurper. The two forces violently collided at the Battle of the Crossings of Arrowy, turning the river red as thousands slaughtered each other in the shallows. In the chaos of the fighting, the two leaders met face to face. Eldikar, driven by the raw grief of his murdered son, overwhelmed Castamir's arrogant martial precision and struck the usurper down personally. The architect of the civil war died at the hands of the grieving father his own cruelty had forged. The kinstrife did not end with Castamir's death. His sons, along with the remnants of his intact armada, retreated from the battlefield. They barricaded themselves within the fortress at Pelargir, enduring a year-long siege before taking to their ships and escaping to the south, landing at the port of Umbar. Cut off from their homeland, this once proud Gondorian armada mutated and devolved into a rogue, dark-sailed pirate fleet. In their desperation to survive, Gondor's purest elites formed alliances with the indigenous Haradrim, effectively abandoning the rigid racial superiority that had started the war in the first place. This union birthed the Corsairs of Umbar, a vicious naval force forged from the ashes of Castamir's loyalists. This timeline charts the resulting damage. For 4 centuries, the Corsairs relentlessly raided Gondor's coastlines, burning settlements and sinking vessels. The violence peaked in 1634. A Corsair armada sailed up the Anduin, sacked Pelargir, and assassinated King Menardil in his own territory. Over time, their hatred for Gondor ran so deep that the Corsairs aligned themselves with Sauron, serving as his privateers during the War of the Ring. By the end of the Third Age, Gondor permanently lost its southern territories, suffered massive casualties among its nobility, and watched its bloodlines severely dilute from decades of continuous warfare. Castamir plunged his nation into war under the pretext of saving Gondor's purity, yet his crusade was the exact mechanism that shattered the kingdom's power, fractured its people, and birthed its most enduring nightmare.